Where is all the love for the 1997 Chicago Bulls? The 1998 team got their own documentary, and it was the biggest sporting event in 2020. Sorry, Patrick Mahomes. The 1996 team has gotten so many different videos and articles written about them. The media hasn't stopped talking about them since the chase to 70. But the 1997 team has been skipped over, and it makes no sense. We are talking about the greatest repeat championship team in NBA history. There is no statistical case for any other team. In case you forgot, here's a brief summary of the numbers they recorded in the regular season. They won 69 games. That's the third highest win total by any team in league history. Now here's the crazy part about that. The Bulls didn't even want to win this many games. They were determined to not outdo themselves from the previous season where they won a record 72 games. They wanted to avoid the whole circus show that came with the Bulls trying to chase history. This is what Steve Kerr said in a New York Times article in 1997. Quote, "Nobody in this room has ever once talked about winning 73 games. Not Phil, not Michael, not Scottie, nobody. In fact, we all decided in the training camp that we wouldn't win as many games as last year." End of quote. So even without trying, they almost won 70 games in 2 consecutive seasons. It was all in Scottie Pippen's hands in the final game of the season. The Bulls were down by 2 points against the New York Knicks, and he missed a 3-pointer badly at the buzzer that would have caused a frenzy at the United Center. This is why Jordan takes the final shot, Scottie. Anyways, it just wasn't meant to be, but it doesn't take away from what they accomplished during the season. As I mentioned, they had the greatest second act of a championship season by any team ever. The 2001 Lakers didn't start getting their act together until the last month of the season, and the 2013 Miami Heat weren't as dominant. If you don't believe me, here's how they performed during the season. They finished first in points per game and offensive rating. They were 4th in defensive rating and 6th in opponents' points per game. If we continue with some of their advanced numbers, they recorded a margin of victory of 10.8 points per game and a 10.7 simple rating system. From a historical standpoint, they're tied with the 5th highest simple rating system and the 6th highest margin of victory for a single season ever. It should also be noted that they have the highest 3-point shooting percentage with 42.8. Not that they attempted many threes, but when they did, they were super efficient. There honestly wasn't much of a difference from their 1996 season, which is a team that for many people is the greatest of all time. It's just common sense to give this team its proper respect. So what was the secret behind their dominance? I'll narrow it down to this. Nobody played the game like the Bulls did at the time, and nobody ever figured out how to consistently contain them. The precision in which they ran the triangle offense ensured that Jordan and Pippen would have open court areas to attack the opposing team's defense. And at this point, they had a PhD in the triangle offense. They were experts in how to execute the offense to perfection. They got more quality shots than any other team, and they knew exactly how to cause chaos on the defensive end. That was a big reason why the Bulls led the league in scoring, committed the second fewest turnovers, and they allowed an average of only 92.3 points per game. That's a lethal combination. You couldn't stop them, and you couldn't score against them. Aside from the X's and O's, there's another important factor to consider. I went back to a New York Times article from 1997 and found a very interesting quote from Phil Jackson. Check out what he said before a regular season game against the Knicks. Quote, "But one of the reasons why this team is so good is that we take everybody seriously. When Sunday comes, we're going to treat the Knicks like they're as good as any team in the NBA as there is. We go after every team at that level." End of quote. So where does the motivation come from? This is what the article continues saying according to writer Clifton Brown. Quote, "Start with Jordan, who drives his teammates as hard as he drives himself. During Wednesday's 111-69 rout of San Antonio, Jordan yelled at Ron Harper for committing a needless foul. The Bulls were ahead by 22 points at the time." End of quote. Now we get to the fun part of this discussion. We get to talk about the greatness of Micheal Jordan. And this season is just another testament of why he's the greatest player of all time. He refused to let his teammates become complacent, even against the worst teams in the league. While other championship teams use the regular season to go on cruise control to get ready for the playoffs, Micheal Jordan kept pushing for excellence. It is something that is rarely seen with a team looking to repeat. And there was a method to his madness. He would find whatever excuse to feed the monster inside of him and to play with that killer will each and every game. There's just too many examples, but I'll name just a few. There was a game against the Miami Heat where Tim Hardaway told a newspaper that he was going to avenge a loss that he had against a whole other team. Scottie Pippen told ESPN Jordan came out as a personal challenge from Hardaway. Whether he admits it or not, he saw what was written in the paper.
It became personal with me.
That's right, he took it personally, and he went for 50 points on 55% shooting against the best defensive team. Then there was a game against the Seattle Supersonics when Coach George Karl said that Jordan had given up going inside and it looked like he was trying not to get hurt. So Jordan proceeded to score 45 points on 68% shooting without attempting a single shot in the painted area. But the most famous example is the game against the New York Knicks. This is when Jeff Van Gundy called MJ a con man. He accused him of befriending opponents so he can use it to his advantage during games. So he responded as only Micheal Jordan could. He scored 51 points on 60% shooting. After he reached the 51-point mark, he yelled at Van Gundy some choice words, as he put it. This is what he did to himself to play at the highest level possible. Every game was a battle, and he wanted to set the example for his teammates by taking every game as a personal challenge. This is why this team was just as good as their legendary 96 season. That is also considering that Dennis Rodman missed 27 games, Tony Kukoc missed 25 games, and Luke Longley missed 23 games. That is a total of 75 games that the three best frontcourt players missed, yet they still won 69 games. That is what happens when you have the greatest player that ever lived, who could bail out any offense, along with the championship foundation that was already in place. The stability and maturity of this team were so strong that they were immune to any drama that surrounded their team. And all of that came from Dennis Rodman. He had a few incidents that could have tore down everything that this team built. For example, he was suspended for kicking a cameraman during a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. League officials even warned him that a similar episode would result in Rodman being banned from the league. Let's be honest, he was a major headache that season. But even though he missed so many games, the Bulls had no trouble winning without him. But more importantly, they didn't let any rifts between him and the team ruin their chemistry. They weren't going to let something so silly tear them down. They stayed the course with Rodman, and he was able to help the Bulls make another deep run in the playoffs. Now their playoff performance compared to the 1996 postseason wasn't very impressive. Their playoff margin of victory fails in comparison to all their title runs except for the 1993 playoffs. It just seemed like they were running out of gas. They were having difficulty shooting the ball efficiently, and that's reflected in their low field goal percentage. As a team, they shot 43.2% from the field. Jordan's percentage went down by 3%. Pippen's went down by nearly 6%. Kukoc went down by over 11%. And Steve Kerr went from shooting 46% from the three to 38% in the playoffs. However, their struggles on the field did not affect their ability to win playoff games. None of their Eastern Conference opponents were able to win more than one game. And even with Micheal Jordan suffering from the stomach flu in Game 5 of the finals, and the Bulls shooting 38% from the field as a team in Game 6, the Utah Jazz were never able to capitalize against a Bulls team that wasn't clicking on all cylinders. That is the mark of a truly great team, that even when they aren't playing well, they still find a way to beat you. Check out what Pat Riley said in a Sports Illustrated article in 1997 about the dynasty of the Chicago Bulls. Quote, "Dynasties get better as they get older. After a while, they begin to win games not so much on talent as on the confidence that comes with experience. They succeed because they know they have succeeded in the past. If you don't develop that ability, you cannot be a team that becomes a repeat champion." End of quote. So as the Utah Jazz crumbled in the final moments of Games 5 and 6, the Bulls made championship winning plays. Jordan was a hero of Game 5, and Steve Kerr made one of the few title-clinching buckets in history. It was a perfect way to end such a legendary season. Now let's talk about where this team should rank among all the teams in NBA history. In the first book that I wrote, I listed the top 50 teams of all time, and I had them ranked as the 7th greatest team ever. Is that too high or too low? Where would you have this team ranked? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.